Assalamu alaikum, grade 7. Welcome again to the biology session. Today, inshallah, we're gonna start the lesson number 4 in this chapter number 7. And this is lesson we can continue the other senses in our nervous system that's talking about the smell and taste and touch. And this is the three other senses in our nervous system. And the last session we talking about the sight and hearing. But today we're talking about the touch and smell and taste. And all of this is senses that's working together in the nervous system. So today we're gonna talk about the smell in your nose and the taste in our tongue and the touch with our skin. So the first point today, how do smell and taste work together? Receptors in the nose that react with the chemicals. So here chemicals that's very important with the smelling and tasting process. So chemicals in air during the process smelling, but in the taste which sensory receptors that in your tongue. That's called saliva. You can remember the saliva in your tongue or behind your tongue that's responsible for breaking down the protein and responsible for testing. So the chemical here that's very important to complete this is process smell or testing. So the senses of smell and tasting working together to making your favorite food. And the chemicals that's very important trigger that's responsible of or that's responsible in receptors in the nose and mouth that can convert to nerve impulses. So nerve impulses then travel to brain to integrated as smells or tastes. Again, chemicals that converted in your mouth, in your mouth or tongue or nose that convert to nerve impulses to travel to brain to interpret as small artists. You can watch this video that's describing or explaining the how three senses working together, smell and taste and touch. So excellent. So that's three senses that's working together to make our favorite in food or some feelings or some smells by some perfumes or bad smell or good smell. And now we can to go about the next point. The nose can distinguish as last or at least 30 basic orders. In contrast, there are only 5 main taste sensations: sweet, sour, salt, and bitter, and meat-like taste, and this is called yummy. However, when you eat, your experience are wind fervory of flavor since both smell and taste affect the flavor of food. So we have here sections of your tongue, and this is difference. What difference in tasting? Sweet, salty, and sour and bitter. That's four main type of tests, and other tests called meat tests or meat-like tests. And the smell and your taste and smell that's working together to make the flavors of food or flavors of food. So again, that your tongue that's made up of receptors that's responsible of convert the chemical of food to the nerve impulses to traveling to your brain, and the smell as well that's containing the receptors that converts the chemical in air or in your food stem to nerve impulses to travel to the brain to make the taste or smell, and that's working together to make the flavor of food. Now you can go to the next point today is the touch. How do you sense touch? So your skin has different kinds of touch receptors that respond to different stimulus. Some receptors respond to delicate or light touch. So this is heavy or light touch. So the difference in kind of receptors in your skin. And those these receptors are located in the upper part of the dermis. So you can remember in this book we can make a cross section of your skin, and that's made up of three main parts. That's called epidermis and dermis and other subconscious tissue. That's three main parts in your skin, and the receptors of touching that's located here in the dermis part or dermis layer. So receptors deep in the dermis that pick up the feeling of heavy pressure, and the dermis also contains receptors that respond to pain, and this is main sensation in touching processes, pain and temperature change. When you touching something hot or something high temperature, you going away or leave it, and when feeling something to pain your skin, you leave it also. So this is happen or responsible for the touching. So the germs that's containing the receptors for touching, and the deep of or deep in the germs that responsible of heavy pressure or feeling in heavy pressure. So you can watch this video that's talking about the how we can touching and the contraction or reaction between the touching and your brain orders.
1 point or 2 points, and I want you to close your eyes and tell me whether I'm touching with 1 or 2.
1, 2, 1.
Good.
2,
Good. I'm going to do it up on the palm. 1 or 2.
1, 2, 2, 1.
Now we're going to test over here. 1 or 2.
1.
Good.
So you can take a look about the reaction between this lady and the response of the touching of this is pain. So the relationship between the touching and the convert the feeling of the pain and to convert to the nerve impulses to travel to brain to make orders to talk about one or something like that. So that's all for today for this lesson that's talking about the smell and tasting and touch, and this is light session or light lesson that's easy for you, and thank you for listening. Study well. Any question you can send me in WhatsApp, and goodbye.